Hey guys, Cloudy Hayes back for another video. We're pretty deep into Season 1 of The War Within. And with that said, it means gearing up and getting into raids or Mythic Plus is even easier now. Whether it's your main or an alt, it doesn't really matter. You can get fully geared up extremely quick and easy. In this video, I'm going to go over the fastest ways to get to 630 plus item level. Whether you're a veteran player or brand new to the game, you can reach this goal if you put in the work. Getting the 630 plus item level in The War Within does take some grinding, but it's very easy to do. In order to reach that goal, you're going to need to get your hands on heroic and mythic track gear. And we're going to need lots of runed and gilded crests as well to upgrade this gear. And we're also going to be crafting gear, which also requires crests. But don't worry folks, I'm going to walk you through the best ways to get your hands on all of that. Ultimately, the best way to gear up fast is by running Mythic Plus dungeons on a level 8 or higher. But jumping into plus 8 mythic dungeons on a brand new character just isn't realistic, unless of course you have buddies willing to carry you. So let's talk about how we can get geared and ready to start farming Mythic Plus dungeons on a plus 8 or higher. I'm also going to share some other tips and tricks I have along the way. There are many other ways you can get your hands on good gear other than Mythic Plus, and we will go over them all. With the release of the latest patch came a new zone called Siren Isles. The Siren Isles is the best place to get starting gear for a brand new character. You can also get your hands on a special ring that is almost best in slot for most classes. If you haven't been to the Siren Isles yet, you can pick up the starting quest in Dornegal. As you can see here on my map, this is the location for the starting quest to get to Siren Isles. Continue following the quest line and complete all the quests that are available to you on Siren Isles. You'll get your ring and a bunch of different gems that you can socket it with. Make sure to check out wowhead.com for your best in slot gems. From completing quests and killing mobs, you will also accumulate a new currency called Flame Blessed Iron, which is used to purchase rewards, gear, and other items on the Siren Isles. Flame Blessed Iron is warband transferable as well, making it even easier to gear up your alts. You can just simply transfer currency from one character to another, and boom, you're almost ready to hop into Mythic Plus dungeons. I'm going to quickly go over how you can get your hands on the different gems for your ring. All the gems, or Citrines as they are really called, are warbound, meaning you can put them into your warband bank and give them to your other characters. There are 4 vendors where you can purchase these gems from, but you will need to collect most of them first before you can purchase them for other characters. There are 3 main vendors where you can purchase these gems from. These vendors have a white chat box icon above their heads as you can see here on my screen. These 3 vendors each offer 3 different gems for a total of 9 gems once you have them all unlocked. Each of the vendors offer one of each of the 3 colors, red, blue, and yellow. To unlock these gems, just simply complete the events around the zone. Head on over to the map in the main area and check out the rewards that are offered. The best way to unlock all 9 of these gems is just simply by running the events that come from this map. Always check the rewards so you can try to pinpoint certain gems. Sometimes more than one event is active at a time, and you have to choose one or the other. The gems are rewarded from killing the big elite during the events, and it's not always guaranteed to drop, but it's a pretty high chance. It might take a few hours of doing these events to unlock them all, but it's definitely worth it. There's one other vendor where you can purchase gems from. You don't need to do anything at all to unlock these other gems, other than walk up to the vendor and purchase them. Each gem costs 50 Flame Blessed Iron, which is basically nothing. This vendor is located west of the event map up a set of stairs. Here you'll find a turtle vendor guy that sells 3 additional gems. Now let's talk about gearing up our characters using the new currency Flame Blessed Iron. Head on over to the Quartermaster in the main area of Siren Isles. Here you can purchase veteran track gear using this currency. Each item costs between 100 to 175 Flame Blessed Iron. You can purchase every armor slot, as well as weapons, rings, and trinkets from this vendor. They also have a few different options for each slot, so you can get the correct stats you need for your class. If you completed all the quests and dailies in the area, you should have more than enough to buy a full set of gear for your character. If for some reason you don't have enough currency, you can just simply go around killing mobs, elites, rares, or any creature on the island to get more Flame Blessed Iron. So guys, grab yourself a full set of veteran track gear from this vendor. Once you buy your gear and put on your new ring, you should be close to 590 plus item level. But the higher the item level you are, the easier it is to jump into Mythic Plus dungeons. 590 isn't bad to start running Mythic Plus, but you're going to have difficulty getting into groups higher than a 4 or 5. But don't worry folks, I have a few more tricks to get your hands on some gear fairly easy before we jump into Mythic Plus. At this point we need gear on the champion track or higher, but preferably we want to start getting heroic track gear. We also want to get our 4 set as well, and ideally we want it on the heroic track. But when jumping into Mythic Plus, you need your 4 set, whether it's veteran track or higher, it doesn't matter, you're going to need it. Otherwise, you will be doing a lot less damage or healing than you should be doing. I'm going to teach you guys a nifty little trick on how to get a bunch of heroic track items easily and fast with minimal effort. Well, a little bit of effort, but it's worth it. I'm talking about 3 to 4 heroic items or more in less than an hour or 2 max. But first, we need to get our gear up just a little bit more. The next thing you guys are going to want to do is head on over to the Catalyst in Dornegal. This far into the season, on a fresh character, you should have 8 charges on the Catalyst, which means we can easily make our 4 set on the lower item level gear and still have 4 more available to use when we get our hands on heroic and mythic track items down the road. You're going to bare minimum want to create a 2 set. You should do your helm and legs first. The reason for this is because we're going to be running heroic Nerubar Palace, and the chances of us getting the helm and legs are less likely than the other slots since they come from the last 3 bosses. So turn your Siren Isles helm and leg armor you just picked up into tier gear, so you have your 2 set. But if you want, you can just go ahead and craft your 4 set right now, since you will have 4 more charges to spend later on, and more as the weeks go on. But at bare minimum, craft the 2 set using helm and legs. Next, we are going to upgrade a few items using weathered crests. We want to get as close as possible to 600 item level before we move on to the little trick I was talking about to get you guys a few pieces of heroic track gear. If you don't have any weathered crests, you can easily get your hands on them by flying through blue orbs located in one of the 4 zones. There are blue orbs you can find all around Kazalgar that'll give you 1 to 3 weathered crests when you fly through one of these orbs. Each day, the location of the blue orbs rotates between the 4 zones of Kazalgar. Just fly from zone to zone until you find the blue orbs. Continue collecting orbs until you have at least 100 weather crests, enough to upgrade a few pieces of gear. Then go ahead and select a few items and upgrade them. When you're upgrading your gear, I do recommend upgrading your weapons first, followed by your trinkets, followed by your tier gear. But you're probably only going to be able to upgrade a few pieces because you're going to need Valor to do so. But you can go ahead and run LFR to get yourself some Valor. Each wing gives you around 120 Valor, and they're pretty quick to run, and you might get an upgrade at the same time. At this point, you should be getting close to 595 item level, which will help you from not dying in heroic Nerubar Palace. You might be thinking, Cloudy, I'm too low for heroic Nerubar Palace. Or you might be thinking that you're never going to get invited to a group. Or maybe you're thinking, even if I did get invited, the chances of getting gear are pretty low, right? But I'm here to tell you that's not true. I'm going to show you a method on how to guarantee items from heroic Nerubar Palace. Well, nothing's really guaranteed, but this method will greatly increase your chances of getting gear. Trust me folks, it works. Even if you don't know the mechanics and have little to no experience in Nerubar Palace, you can still do this. The group is going to carry you. This is what you're going to want to do. You're going to host a heroic Nerubar Palace raid. Create the group and put the name of the group as Fresh Heroic Full Clear. And if anyone asks, yes, it's a full clear. You'll be fine as long as you follow these next steps. So now you need to make a solid raid team. Ideally, you want to invite as many 620 plus players as possible. It's also important that you have the Raider.io add-on so you can see people's raid progress. You don't want to fill the raid up with tons of people that don't have any raid experience. Getting the raid group started is the hardest part, but once you have some people in the raid, the queue will start popping off and lots of people will queue up to your group. You have to be a bit ruthless when leading a pug raid. Well, maybe ruthless is a bit extreme, but you do have to be a little bit strict. The first 3 to 4 people you invite can be basically anyone over 600 plus item level, ideally 610 plus. Don't worry so much about the first few people you invite, you really just need them to get the raid started so better players will start to queue up. People like to queue up to raids that are almost full so they don't have to wait around. Remember, you want to invite as many high item level players as possible, but most importantly, people with raid experience. Anyone that is 8 of 8 heroic, you should instantly invite, no questions asked, even if they aren't an alt, as long as that alt is over 610 item level, and as long as they have AOTC on another character, of course. As you're inviting people, you want to try to invite players that are not the same armor type as you. This is very important. If you're a plate wearer, then invite cloth, leather, and mail players. The less players in the raid that share your armor type, the better chance you have of getting gear. If you want to take it to the next level, you can also try to avoid inviting players that share your tier token. But that can be a bit tricky and sometimes end up affecting the strength of the raid. But if you can manage to do that, you're guaranteed to get heroic tier if it drops. But remember guys, when you're choosing your raid team, if there are geared players with the same armor type as you, it's fine to invite them, since they probably don't need any gear anyways. You just really want to avoid inviting lower item level players with the same armor type as you. Ideally, you don't want any competition for gear. So again guys, the more players you invite that are 8 of 8 heroic or higher and are above 620 item level and that are not your armor type, the better chance you have of clearing further into the raid and getting tons of gear. Your goal should be to try to clear 6 of 8 heroic at bare minimum. As long as 80% of the raid is 8 of 8 heroic or close to it, you should have no issue clearing the first 6 bosses. It's fine to invite people that are not 8 of 8 heroic, as long as they are geared and have some experience in the raid. Maybe they're 4 of 8 or 3 of 8. That's okay. As long as they have gear, that'll do. And another important tip is to try to invite as many people into the raid as possible. If you can manage to fill the raid to 30 players, you're almost guaranteed gear, as long as you invited the bare minimum people with your armor type. And again guys, it's fine to invite the same armor type and same class as long as they are basically fully geared up. I do have one last tip to help you succeed while leading the raid. This is for anyone who is new to raid leading or doesn't know the mechanics in Nerubar Palace. You will need to act like you know what you're doing. Before each boss, do a raid warning giving the raid a brief rundown on the most important mechanics. To do a raid warning, just type /RW and then type your message. I will have a list of raid warnings you guys can use for the first 6 bosses to help you look more knowledgeable in the description below. And I will also go over them here. For the first boss, Ulgrax, you're going to say, stack for soak, clear webs with green circles, during intermission please follow the tanks, do not chase the adds. Let the adds come to us. High mobility classes, please help us feed the boss as well. For the second boss, you're going to need to split the raid into 2 even groups. Split the tanks, healers, and DPS up evenly. Place 2 markers down on the islands and mark the tanks with the same marker. Make sure the markers are not next to each other. Tell the raid to check their groups and always double check to make sure everyone is in the right spot. Remind the group to follow their tanks at all times. And make sure to mark the tanks with the same markers that you put down on the ground. For the third boss, Citrines, tell the raid to get out of the group if they are targeted with phase blades, and to stand next to the spawned adds if they are targeted with decimate. But to be honest, the third boss is really easy, and most groups don't wipe to this. Moving on to boss number 4, Rashanan. You only need to make one simple raid warning. Just raid warning the following message. If you have white circles, get out of the raid. If you have green circles, then Olympic ring, stack them in melee. After the first 4 bosses are dead, if the raid has gone smooth so far, chances are you can kill the next 2 bosses. But the next 2 bosses are a bit harder. Starting with the 5th boss, Brood Twister, you should tell the raid which eggs to break first. The first 2 sets of egg breaks are the most important to get correct. With everyone's item level and gear so high this late into the season, the boss is going to die pretty fast anyways. So what you should do is place 5 markers down. The first 4 markers on top of the first set of eggs that need to be broken, and then 1 additional marker in between the second set of eggs that need to be broken. Then do a raid warning and tell your raid to break the first 4 eggs that are marked. And then tell the raid that the second set of eggs to be broken are around the 5th marker you placed down. Moving on to the next boss, we have the Nexus Princess. Just do a raid warning and tell people to get out of the raid with Queen's Bane. There's too much to explain, so just make a quick raid warning and hope the group kills it. If you manage to kill 6 bosses, chances are you already got a few pieces of gear. I would continue on to the 7th boss and give it a few tries, but the 7th boss, Silken Court, is a lot harder than all the previous bosses. Don't waste your time trying to kill this boss. After you run heroic, you should end up with a few pieces of heroic track gear and some rune crests as well. And hopefully you're well over 600 plus item level at this point and ready to blast some Mythic Plus dungeons. When jumping into Mythic Plus on a new character, you want to start by clearing all 8 of the dungeons on a +4 difficulty. This will get your character some Mythic Plus rating, which you will need in order to get invited to groups, as well as Valor and Rune Crest, which you will also need to upgrade gear. Having a decent Mythic Plus rating helps for making groups as well. People tend to queue to groups that have party leaders with higher rating. So ultimately, the higher rating you have, the better it is all around. Once you clear all the dungeons on a +4, then you're going to want to work your way up to clearing them all on a +8. At this point, you should have plenty of rune crests and have gotten a few pieces of champion track gear. You should be getting close to 610 plus item level if you've been following this guide so far. 610 item level is more than enough to blast down +8 dungeons. You just need to work your way up. Upgrade some of your gear to get your item level up even more. You could also craft a 619 weapon if you wanted to, or just use the crest to upgrade heroic track gear. Aim to upgrade heroic track items first before anything else. If you don't have a decent weapon, then it's not a bad idea to craft one at 619 item level using 45 rune crests. But if you do have a champion track weapon, you could just upgrade it to full. Or if you got lucky and got a heroic track weapon, then that's even better. Just keep pushing keys and upgrading your gear until you're 615 plus, and at this point, you should be able to blast +8s with ease. People will start queuing to your groups a lot faster, and you should be coming close to hitting 2000 Mythic Plus rating. Hitting 2k is an important goal, because you get a free piece of heroic tier of your choice. This will help boost your item level even more. Upgrade that tier piece to 626 as soon as you can. Once you start clearing +8 dungeons on the regular, you will be able to skyrocket your item level very fast. Since we're already multiple months into Season 1, we are able to obtain a lot of sparks, which we need to craft gear. And the requirement to craft 636 items has been lowered to 60 gilded crests from 90, which also helps us gear much faster. You want to save all your gilded crests you get and start crafting gear right away. I recommend crafting a weapon first. The only time I wouldn't recommend crafting a weapon first is if I already had a heroic track weapon and I have another slot that's extremely low. In that case, you can craft a 636 in a slot that's low. The first 120 gilded crests you get should go into crafting 2 636 items. Eventually, you're going to get heroic track items to drop for you, which you can then convert those items into tier pieces. Within no time at all, you will have a full set of heroic track tier gear, and you're going to need runed and gilded crests to max them out to 626 item level. You can decide to upgrade your tier gear or save all your crests and craft 636 gear. Either route is fine. But your end goal is to craft at least 5 to 6 items at 636 item level, and to fill out the rest of your armor slots with heroic track gear fully upgraded. And hopefully between the next reset or two, you'll get something good out of your vault and get a nice mythic track item if you can manage to clear a +10. Doing all of this will put you over 630 item level. So guys, if you want to hit 630 plus item level and you're not in a mythic raiding guild, you're going to have to put in the work. You're going to have to run lots and lots of dungeons. It's just how it is. But on the bright side, the more dungeons you run, the more you learn the dungeon. And the more you learn the dungeons, the better you become. Overall, allowing you to push your character and your key level higher. There are some other sources for gearing other than running Mythic Plus, and you will want to keep your eyes open for them. Sometimes, depending on the week, you can run time walking events to get a random piece of heroic track gear. So keep your eyes peeled for stuff like that. If you do have plenty of gold, you can buy heroic and mythic track items off the auction house. And each class does have one item that you can purchase off the auction house that you can convert into tier gear using the catalyst. So if you're struggling to get that specific slot on heroic track and don't care about spending gold, you could just purchase it off the auction house, but that's definitely not required. But I do personally think it's worth it to buy the mythic track tier slot off the auction house so you can convert it to tier and have yourself a 639 item level piece of tier right off the bat. But guys, overall, hard work does lead to success. Put the work in and get the rewards. But guys, I really hope this video helped you out. Push hard, get your item levels up. If you guys have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cloudy Haze out.
I just need to know what's on your mind. Tell me what you need and you can call my name, I'll be around. Dum da da, dum dum da da, dum dum da da, dum dum the sky is falling. Dum dum da da, dum dum da da, dum dum da da. That will keep you safe and sound. Dum da da, dum dum da da, dum da da. The sky is falling.